Looking for more ways to support? Don't forget, you can check us out on Patreon.
Alrighty, hi everyone, this is Moz with Plaid Paws, and today we are going to discuss how to cut and hollow a base the Moz way. Or we're going to call it the Moz way for now. This is our kitten base that we have for our lovely assistant today, and here are what we will be using. Not all of it is necessary. We will only be using like 4 of these things in the video, but they're super handy just to have on hand. You can do all of this with a box cutter. It's okay. A box cutter and a Sharpie. That's literally tool-wise. Cut-proof gloves is always handy, but we don't have any here. We like to live life on the edge. So, let's go ahead and talk about the different tools that I have here. So from the Sharpie over here is our cutting implements. So we will for sure need a box cutter. It can be a tiny one like this one or a large one. I don't know where my large one is, so we have the tiny one today. A scalpel or X-Acto knife. Your good old handy pair of scissors. And then this is a Sure Foam shaver. This will not be used in this tutorial, but basically it's a cheese grater of sorts for the foam to help remove the foam skin in order for the foam to stick better with the hot glue or whatever adhesive you would like to use for crafting your critter. So I'm going to put that away. Those are our cutting implements. We're going to roll that over there. For our markers here, we're not going to use all of these. We're only going to use this one. But for a good example of what you can use, I have a textile marker. Not everyone's gonna have this. This is kind of a pain in the butt to use, but you can use this. It's waterproof. It doesn't transfer, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. You can use a water-soluble or air-soluble marker, the ones that have the double end. You can also just use the Mark Be Gone with just the blue end. Totally fine. You can use a washable Crayola marker. That's what we use. Here, you can use a washable chalk marker. This is what we also use. We use the chalk markers for darker materials, but we're going to use it today. Otherwise, you can use a Sharpie. Just make sure that you cut away any of your Sharpie marks. I find that over time, the Sharpie will slowly bleed through when you use rubbing alcohol on your fursuit, as it is an alcohol-based marker. So try and avoid the alcohol-based markers if you can. If you can't, it's totally fine. Just cut the marks away. So what we're going to do is I'm going to set all of these over here. Stay. And we're going to use our red chalk marker today, and we're going to mark out what we need to cut in order to be successful with our base. So I'm going to mark up half of it for the tutorial. So prime your chalk marker of choice or whatever marker you're going to use, and we're going to take out these eye shapes, and it helps that they are domed, so it's a little easier to cut around them. So we're going to take those out. I like to put an X as I go. So we're going to mark boop, and it's going to look really goofy. I'm going to leave the nose holes. I typically just leave them for the client to pick if they would like when they buy a base, and then you're going to mark out these cheek areas, little divots right here. So, and then we're going to follow our muzzle lines. So there's one right there, and then there's one right here. Okay. So then, if you want like a bunny base, I would just cut the nose holes here and put extra foam to kind of smooth this over. So, which I have a bunny to do after this. So what we're going to do is I'm going to make a mark. Okay, and we are going to hollow straight back. The reason we're doing straight back is so that way, if the client so desires, they can make it into a moving jaw base. And it makes it easier just to pattern the inside and line it. So, we got our cheek lines. Now what we're going to do is we're not going to set it super long, but we're going to get, you know, a couple, at least an inch into our blade, and we're going to start setting in our cut lines. And these are going to cut super nice. The older the foam gets, a little bit harder. It gets a little bit harder to cut, but nonetheless, it's still decent to cut. We're only cutting about 1/2 inch into the base, so then, let's see if you can see the separation, just so that way we can get it separated. And we're going to do the same on the other side. Try and do it all in one gentle motion, or as gentle as you can be. That way you don't have all these random cuts everywhere, and it makes life a little bit easier. So, you're just gonna follow those lines, get it nice and cut smooth. Only separating the jaw from the top of the head now. So we're gonna extend our blade all the way now, and if you can lock it, sometimes it doesn't want to lock. It's not gonna lock for me, so just be careful. I'm going to slowly cut into the base. Anyways, I'm gonna cut straight across. Boop. And it's okay if you just cut to the middle, totally fine. Don't cut all the way across. Boop. There it goes. So now we have the bottom and the top. So we're going to work on the bottom first, as it's not going to take quite as long. Move that over there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to slowly cut a mouth in, and we're also going to, wrong word, we're also going to cut the bottom a little bit so you can fit your face inside. So, on our bases, you'll see 2 leading lines. And if you just put a half semicircle around, it makes it nicer, and then just kind of round your edges so it's a little less janky. So then you have a semicircle. This is to fit your neck in so you can get a little bit closer to the inside of your fursuit head. So, So, now that we have our semicircle, we're also going to mark about inch and a half from the top. So I'm just following those lines kind of straight up, if I can draw a straight line, of course. So it's gonna kind of look like this, okay? And we just leave that space on the inside so we can, custom fit it to our client. Because we don't want it too big, because then we have to go in and add foam. So I try not to make it super massive. So carve this out. Part of it is part of the mouth, and then we will visit our friend the mouth and carve this down as well, just so it looks like that. So here's our lines we're going to cut out. Make sure it is, for the most part, symmetrical. Sometimes it takes some finagling. So we're gonna also repeat the same shape on this side, but a little bit different. So let's go ahead and we are gonna cut this out. Same deal with for the outside, but because we are cutting out most of what we're gonna put our blade into, you can just kind of go in one fell swoop and cut it all out. But I'm gonna try and do this somewhat slowly so you can see it in progress as I go. So, of course, make sure it is symmetrical as you go, as best as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. So, and then I make my first cut to the top. And then I'm also going to do the same on the bottom. Doop, so you can see it. Forgetting my working area here. Alrighty. So then we're gonna boop. Carve it out. We also have to take into account those mouth corners. Those are there so then if you do a moving jaw, you can actually breathe. As sometimes the major complaint with moving jaws is that there's not a lot of space to breathe when the mouth is closed. So those are planned to be in there so you can breathe. So, and if you have an electric turkey carver knife, that makes this so much easier. Problem is, mine is currently not sharp enough to do foam. So we gotta do it the old-fashioned way with box cutters. So we're just doing a rough cut. This is where scissors would come in handy after the fact, but we're just doing a rough cut so then the client can make what they desire out of this. So if you pull it back just a little bit, you will eventually hit your lines from this. So this is where having those cut lines comes really important, because then you can kind of maneuver around those lines. So we're going to do the same on the other side as well. So we're just basically kind of doing a giant scoop. I find this is just the most comfortable way to do it. Ta-da! So this is where we're going to start doing the mouth. I'm going to go ahead and cut those cheek lines out of my way. Boop. Boop. And then we're going to kind of scoop into the mouth once I get a good position to cut. So you don't want to cut too deep because you don't want your jaw super floppy. So I'm just cutting just a little bit so we have a little bit of a mouth divot to make room for our tongue. Scoopage. Ta-da! So this is where Mr. Scissors comes in. Oh, your scissors come in handy so you can clean up your cuts a little bit. And just go in. This is super soft foam, so it just, you use a little bit of TLC. My blade is also not super sharp, so that also complicates things. So just take it and smooth the inside out. You can do this all at the end as well, but I'm doing it during the process so you can kind of see me doing this. We'll go in tiny blade this time and cut this open just a little bit. So this jaw is very, very tiny, so you don't want to cut too deep. Well then, I don't even know what fell. So you can just take your fingers and kind of just peel it back. And having sharp scissors helps a ton as well. So we'll smooth it out for the most part. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. But it'll kind of look like this when you're done. So, here's the bottom jaw. Let's get started on that top jaw and top of the noggin. We're gonna put that knife away because we don't need that. So, keep your scrap foam because what I like to do with it is if I have to make edits, I go in with the same foam so it's all the same texture. So same deal here, we're gonna cut around the eyeballs. We're gonna do the eyeballs first because I like to take these out in one big chunk. So we're gonna go ahead and we're just doing rough cuts right now, so tiny blade. You don't want to go much more than like 2 clicks into your knife. So sometimes the casts have voids behind the eyes as well. That's not the end of the world. Just take our scrap foam and a little bit of hot glue and it'll fix it right up. Most of the time if there are any voids from us casting, it's literally just in very goofy spots that do not affect the end product. It happens, it's foam. So we're gonna cut like that. Okay, so now our eyes are firmly grasped. So now we're gonna go to the bottom and the back side. Because now that we have our eyes cut out, it's a little bit easier to cut the rest. So we're gonna take our bottom jaw and we are going to line it up. So then you have, you know, equal amounts on the top as well as the bottom. And then we're going to mark around. You want to leave about an inch, inch and a half. So it'll look like this. I really like my bases nice and roomy, so I try and hollow them out pretty well. Having a mannequin or whoever you are making this for on standby is super, super helpful in this process because then you can go and test the fit. So we're gonna boop. Same deal on this side. You can hollow it out more. I'm just gonna hollow it to there for my client. So they don't have to struggle as much. So, big blade now, all the way out, and then we're going to take smooth, sweeping cuts along our lines. So, there's one side. And you can hear the foam squeaking as I do this, at least in person. I don't know if the camera's picking it up. So, now that we have our starter cuts, as you can see, we are going to take our eyeball and we are going to do this maneuver. We're going to basically try and cut 90 degrees to the eye. So, that way you have a good deep hole into your eyeball. And same deal on the bottom as well. That way, when you get there, you don't cut into your eye socket at all. So, and it also gives space for the eye blank to sit in. So again, 90 degrees. I find doing it this way is easier because then I can just set the eye blank in and then trim around as needed. So, go around the eyeball. There we go. And now that we have the eyeballs to where we can kind of smush them out of the way, we're going to cut about an inch. Oh my goodness. An inch down from the nose bridge. So then you have that extra space. And try and cut into the other eye socket as well when you do that. So, now that we have that cut established, we're going to continue cutting on the back side. So just be careful not to cut yourself. It do be scary. You're gonna cut straight down through the eye, so then you can meet up with your cut here. You can use your fingers to kind of tear it. Just be gentle. Don't force it if it doesn't want to go. So now we're going to take swooping cuts, push the outside foam away, and do big sweeping cuts. Okay? That way you don't accidentally cut into the outside foam. So I like to just do this. It's better to cut it too small than too big. So big old sweeping cuts. This will keep you from hitting the outside of the foam base and having to glue it back because you screwed up. So just continue checking as you go. Making sure that you leave plenty of space between the inside where you're cutting and the outside, because once you get too thin, you can't really add back. I mean, you can, but it's a little bit more difficult. So let me see if I can do it so you can actually see what I'm doing. Again, big sweeping cuts. Don't be afraid to make those cuts. It'll be okay. Just go slow. And it's gonna make the base look kind of goofy while you cut. I promise it'll fluff back out. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut the front here. So I can kind of pull these guys away and out of the sockets. Again, don't force it if it's not going to go. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and there. There's our top. And here is the top of the head. Okay. And now it's just the bottom that we need to do. So we're gonna follow our cuts, or our trace lines. Again, you don't need to go too deep with it. Just kind of make it look nice. And then I'll go in for cleanup. If your knife starts to get dull, it would be a good time to change it once you finish this. Slowly hack away with your scissors, just kind of cleaning it up. So, and right here where it's really deep compared to the other side, I'm just gonna take my knife and clean that up. So it's a little bit more even on both sides. So, but other than that, your base is ready for patterning once you finish your cleanup. So, and this would also be the time too, if you wanted the nose to be pickable, you can definitely add those holes. I am not for my clients, so then they can choose if they would like to have them pickable. If you would like a silicone nose, we are working on getting those molds ready, and then they should be ready by end of December for these guys. But that being said, here's our kitten mold, all cut and hollowed. Thank you for watching.